Good morning, everyone. There we go. All right. If you haven't already, I encourage you to make sure you have a Bible with you. We will definitely need that. I encourage all of you to have a Bible in one way, shape, or form. You have physical copies in the back of the room. If you have one with you, that's great. If you have it on your phone, that's also great.
Try to keep hold.
Whichever form you've got. And if you want to flip to John 11, that's where we're going. John chapter 11. You're going to read the whole chapter together. John chapter 11.
Good morning. That's too many. Should I put it in somebody else's table? I use table because she's going to see she. That's what I think. No, it's not really.
No, it's not big.
No, it isn't.
You're in the front row, so all right, so as you're flipping to John 11, what we're going to do this morning is kind of walk through a way that you can read the Bible on your own or in like a small group. We're going to walk through with John 11 as like our kind of like, hey, let's do it together. But this is a practical way for you to be able to, in your own time, or with, again, a small group of people, to walk through the scriptures, whichever scriptures you're focusing on. And all it's based around is reflecting and being curious. That's all that really drives it, is reflecting and being curious as you engage with the scriptures, and if you're in conversation with other people, being curious about them as well. This is based off of, and you may have heard this mentioned before, on the left-hand side right over here, there's a book, 10 questions to ask every time you read the Bible. Now, we're not going to go through all 10, but I have a handful of them that we're going to use. But this is a fantastic book. Some of you are familiar with the book 10 Lies Satan Loves to Tell. This is the first book in that series. Pastor Avery Jones, he has written those two books, and he has a third one coming out focused on prayer. But they're fantastic books. This was his first book, and really he wrote it as a helpful way for anyone to be able to pick up the scriptures and to be able to be curious. And that's really where all kind of growing in knowing the scriptures, but ultimately, what do the scriptures help us know? They help us know not just facts, not just trivia. They help us know a person, right? So really what this is designed for is being curious so that we grow closer and know Jesus. That's really what ultimately this is driving at. So what we're going to do is we're going to read John 11. I'll read it out loud to you because I think with the live stream people, otherwise, like if we weren't like on live stream and also in like a larger group, we would take turns with other people reading because I don't like to hog all of the scripture reading, but I will do it. We're going to read the whole chapter, John 11, because it's one narrative. And I think that is a helpful way of when you read this whole thing together. So what we're going to do is I'm going to read it, and I want you to follow along in your scriptures. And then we're going to take time and just have discussion based around these questions. And so real quick, just to kind of like get you in that mindset as you're listening, you can listen for these sorts of things, or at least be attuned to it. Fundamentally, the question when we read the scriptures, any scripture, is we ask God, who are you? Like, who are you showing yourself to be in this particular passage, in this particular part of Scripture? So that, honestly, is probably the most important question to ask anytime you read the Bible is, Lord, who are you showing me who you are? And that may seem like a very simple answer, but actually when you read a text, it gives you a certain kind of perspective on like, oh man, this is a certain attribute of God. This is a character of who he is. This is an action that he promises to take. You can see all the different ways that we see God and who he is. So that fundamentally is what we're going to be asking. Who are you, Lord? But also, we're going to ask these questions. Who is the enemy? Which is like, I've never asked that question when I read the Bible. But actually, it's a very helpful question when you read the scriptures. When you read the scriptures, and you think about if you've gone through catechism with, small catechism, Martin Luther. Martin Luther, in particular, says, hey, there's three main enemies that we see in the scriptures. Anybody know who those three main enemies are? I hear mumble. Who wants to be like, say it loud?
Judas?
Not Judas. No. Who are the three enemies that we see? Like big categories of enemy that we see in the scriptures. Sin. Yep. There's the devil, Satan. What related to ourselves are like our sin. Yep. Our sin and sin, death, the devil. Those, if you're thinking in broad category terms, those are our enemies. Now, those show itself in a number of ways. So when we ask the question, who is the enemy? When we're reading John 11, I want you to think, like, where do you see those enemies pop up? What forms do they show themselves in? Sometimes you see multiple enemies. Sometimes you see one or two. Related to it, how is that enemy defeated? How in this particular passage does God, because remember, he's the hero, so he ultimately is the one who's defeating the enemy. How does he defeat it? And now let me tell you, sometimes you're going to read the scriptures and you're going to read a passage and you're going to be like, well, I see this enemy, but I don't see in this passage how God defeats it. And you might be like, well, hold on, how do I answer this question? And that's one of those things where it's like, maybe I got to look in a different spot. Maybe I got to keep reading. So that's where being curious leads you down further paths. Because if you ask me, how is God going to defeat the enemy in this story, and it doesn't seem to be resolved, let me keep reading, or let me look somewhere else. That curiosity drives you to further knowledge. What have I experienced that connects to this? So now we think about reflecting questions. So we're also going to think about, where in my life have I experienced something that in one way, shape, or form connects with something? What am I feeling? So again, as you read it, pay attention to what emotions are you going through. Frustration, joy, excitement, confusion, anger, all of it. All the emotions. What are you feeling? What questions remain? That's a good one to take note of anytime you read the Bible. Be like, yeah, I read through this passage and I feel like I got more questions than answers out of it, and that's okay. Write down your questions. That's a helpful thing to do. But what questions remain? And then lastly, we'll close with, who do I know that needs to hear this? As you go through a passage, think to yourself, God is speaking this to me. But who do I know in my life that needs to hear this too? All right. So that's where we're going. So hopefully that helps you with like, okay, this is what we're going to be thinking about. So now, let's read it. And we're going to discuss. All right? So, John 11. John 11 is where we're at. I don't have water, but I've got coffee. All right. And we're going to take the whole chapter. So, buckle up. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and his sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. When he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, let us go back to Judea. But Rabbi, they said, a short while ago the Jews tried to stone you, and yet you're going back? Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble, for they see by this world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they stumble, for they have no light. After he said this, he went on to tell them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm going there to wake him up. His disciples replied, Lord, if he sleeps, he'll get better. Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. So then he told them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I'm glad I was not there, so that you may believe, but let us go to him. Then Thomas, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, let us also go, that we may die with him. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in their loss and the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who has come into the world. After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and is asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him. But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. Take away the stone, he said. But Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man, by this time there's a bad odor, for he has been dead there for 4 days. Then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always heard me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, take off the grave clothes and let him go. Therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. What are we accomplishing? They asked. Here's this man performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. And then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation. Then one of them, named Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, spoke up. You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it's better for you that one man die for the people than the whole nation perish. He did not say this on his own, but as high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation. And not only for that nation, but also for the scattered children of God, to bring them together and make them one. So from that day on, they plotted to take his life. Therefore, Jesus no longer moved about publicly among the people of Judea. Instead, he withdrew to a region near the wilderness, to a village called Ephraim, where he stayed with his disciples. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, many went up from the country of Jerusalem for their ceremonial cleansing before the Passover. They kept looking for Jesus, and as they stood in the temple courts, they asked one another, what do you think? Isn't he coming to the festival at all? But the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that anyone who found out where Jesus was should report it so that they might arrest him. And then we get to Palm Sunday, so we'll pick that up next week. All right. So let's start, and let's just begin. So you think about this text, think about this story, and let's ask the question, who are you, Lord? In other words, how is the Lord revealing himself in this? What do you think? What stands out to you? How would you put it? Yeah.
He's showing that he's all powerful. He even has power over that.
Okay, so he's showing he's all powerful, and you point to, hey, he has power over death. He raises Lazarus from the dead. Great. So all powerful is one. Anybody else see something that highlights God is all powerful in this story, other than him saying he's powerful over death? Yeah. Arnie.
We continually do not understand what he's saying. He says, time and time again, he tells us that we don't really understand the depth.
Okay. So he knows all. So he's telling us. So where in this does that stand out for you? Is there a moment in this that particularly kind of makes you realize, like, oh, God's going to tell us things that we may not understand what he's saying?
I thought where, when he talks about life, we have a different, we do so our understanding, like we
Mm-hmm.
he makes simple statements like that. We're not me.
Yeah.
He is the Lord Almighty.
Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes they'll say things, like the example of life, and we hear it one way, but he's actually trying to get us to understand things at a more profound or deeper level. Yeah. Yeah. And so sometimes it's hard to grasp how all powerful he is from our context. Good. What else? Who are you, Lord? How does the Lord reveal himself? Yeah, Bill.
You know, when he was the resurrection, and then I got the resurrection,
Mm-hmm.
when he made himself, people can hear what he meant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's making the pronouncement. Who are you? You are the Lord of resurrection. Yeah, he's making this incredible claim. He is the resurrection. And it's like, how much did they grasp it in the moment? But for us, on this side of Easter, we kind of see like, wow, man, what an incredible statement. Who are you, Lord? You are the Lord of resurrection. Yeah. What else? Who are you, Lord?
He is different.
Hmm.
And he had such compassion. He didn't, wasn't like, oh, things will get better by and by, kind of thing. Just walk with.
Yeah, I love that. Who are you? You are our friend. What an incredible, what an amazing thing, right? To hold in the same hand as you're all powerful. What's it like to have a friend like that? Yeah, and we do. What amazing. Yeah, and so was there a moment, you mentioned compassion. Was it for you, Ardella? Is there a is there a moment where you're like, man, you can really see Jesus as friend in this story?
Well, when Martha says, big good adventure, that brother.
You know, and in their grief when she says, hey, both of them, yeah, if you were here, your brother wouldn't have died, and he is just the way he talks to them and cares for them is compassionate. It's the friend you want, right? It's a friend you want when you're pouring your heart out and you want someone to reciprocate that care and walk alongside you, and he does that. Wonderful. Yeah, I think it's on over here, Robert.
Shortest verse of the Bible, Jesus wept.
Yeah, so the first, Jesus wept, shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. So what's for you, what does that tell you? Who are you, Lord? What does that tell you about who God is? Okay, God is human. What a statement, right? Right? That's amazing. Robin, for you, was there anything
That's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
on the same things that our gal said, showed that he loved them so much that he actually left.
Yeah. His love for them is so deep, he weeps with them. Yeah, wonderful. What else? Who are you, Lord? Dan?
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, it's like he's revealing himself more and more, and it's like he's so powerful. You know, you may not be able to believe it. So he's been doing miracles all along, and the people understand that, right? It's
Yeah.
like, well, we've been here, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
He's like, well, let's wait here a couple of days, because what I'm gonna do next will really blow you away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's revealing himself in a way,
Mm.
you know, convince people that he is God.
Yeah.
What he's,
I think that's a good insight. Dan was mentioning he's revealing himself, but he's doing it in a way like it's not like a total fire hose, if I can put it that way, right? I think that's what you're kind of getting at. It's not like Jesus is like, all right, I'm going to show you all of who I am in this one instance. And it's like, they wouldn't be able to comprehend it, right? We wouldn't be able to take that in, but he's kind of like, hey, he's a teacher. And that's what good teachers do, right? You don't just be like, all right, here's all the knowledge you'll ever need to know for this subject, boom, put it in front. It's like, no, you're like, hey, here's where you're at. So I'm going to meet you, and then I'm going to take another step. Right? For me, what comes to my mind whenever I think about this and kind of what God does, I may have shared it in this Bible study before, but one of the things I love about God is He condescends, which normally we don't think of that in a positive term, right? Like no one likes to be talked to condescendingly, right? Because what does that mean? So you're getting talked down to, like someone's talking down to you. But here's the thing, that's an amazing thing with God. Who is on His level that He can talk to evenly? Nobody. So the only way He can actually talk to us is if He comes down to our level. But He does it in not a, in the negative sense of the word. But He shows it in the most beautiful sense of just, He's going to meet us where we are, and He'll take us one step at a time. And how He's revealing Himself. He's doing that. Wonderful. Thank you. What else? Who are you, Lord?
I think it speaks in when it's talking about how it's better for one man to die than a whole nation. That just speaks on how powerful He is, because they think, oh, if we get rid of this one guy, then we'll be fine. And it's not like that, I guess.
Well, it's not like that, and yet it is. Right? No, I appreciate you bringing that up. So you bring up at the end, the religious leaders and Caiaphas. He brings up, it's better if we just get rid of this one guy than have all of Rome angry at us. That's really what they're afraid of. And you're saying like, man, God is so powerful that even Caiaphas is right and he doesn't even know it. He's more right than he realizes. Because it is true, right? And that's, I think, what John is saying your exact point. He's like, he's prophesying, and it's a weird statement when he says, I'm trying to find the verse right here. Where is it? He did not say this on his own, but as high priest that year, he prophesied. It's like, wait a minute, if he prophesied, why didn't he trust Jesus? But it's like he's doing it and he's not even realizing it. God is so powerful, He's even using the intentions of evil for good. That's for me, and that's this one beautiful example of what God can do is what, it's Genesis 50. Joseph, what you intended for evil, God intended for good. It doesn't make the evil thing good, so don't mistake that. It doesn't make the evil thing good, but it shows how powerful God is, that He's able to use even evil to destroy itself. That's what God does. And we see it in this one statement from Caiaphas. It's like, you are more right than you realize. What else? Who are you, Lord?
Maybe all-knowing, because He knew His fate. He knew who was going to the Pharisees were gonna take over him.
Yeah.
Thomas, let's
Yeah.
go with him. We'll die with him, just going to Lazarus.
Yeah.
He knew that he was gonna be safe. He knew what his ultimate death scenario was.
Yeah.
Did he do this whole thing just to aggravate the Pharisees more so that they got more mad at him? So that they definitely turned against him and killed him.
Yeah.
It could have been a ploy.
Yeah.
Make them so mad at me.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that, Mark. So you're emphasizing he's all knowing, and you see that by he knows he can see all right, we're gonna go to Lazarus, and he knows to basically let Lazarus die so that he can raise him up, and you're like, and he knows it's gonna tick some people off. And it's gonna set off a chain reaction. And it's like he knows all that. And I think you're right in kind of being like, man, Jesus seems to know that. And so he's in total control of everything. He's letting it happen because he knows what the ultimate purpose is. And then next week, just so you guys know, we're actually gonna, with the Bible study hour next week, just to give you a sneak peek, we're gonna read a bit through Matthew, and we're gonna see that. Actually, you're gonna see Jesus antagonize people. And that's what he does the first half of Holy Week. Jesus goes in to Jerusalem the first half of Holy Week, and he makes a lot of people angry. And it's not by accident. He's doing it on purpose. And I think you're right. He knows what's happening. Great. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, Carol.
Don't you think it's kind of, he raised it from the dead, what, 3-4 days before he himself dies in the series. It's almost like, this is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, you're getting a taste of something right here, but just wait.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. Yeah, absolutely, Carol.
His humanness. I appreciate you explaining to us what that, when it says Jesus called Lazarus, you said this morning, you explained it, I won't give it away. What is human? So
Yeah.
he knew it was gonna happen, but he had
Yeah.
the emotion of this is.
Yeah. So again, you kind of bring up, when he cries out in a loud voice, and again, for those who weren't for the first service, you'll find out why that's significant. But it's another example. You see, Jesus is human, and kind of doubling back with what someone's mentioning too. Look at how much emotion Jesus is showing in John 11. Just kind of think about that. Think about all the emotions he's showing. Yeah, he is human. He gets it. He's been in our shoes. He's been through all the things we've been through. And it's it's profound to kind of take that in, and at the same time be like, he's all powerful and all knowing, and he knows what it's like to be us. Beautiful. Yeah, Marsha.
He's so powerful. He was there when.
Yep.
So he knows what Lazarus should have done.
Yeah.
And so he grieves. It just seems like he grieves as a man,
Yep.
understanding what they're going through. But I think he also grieves as a creator,
Yeah.
knowing how wonderful that was supposed to be.
Yeah, so you're reminded, who are you, Lord? Lord, you are the creator who grieves over what sin does to our world. God is grieving over the effects of sin. And he doesn't want it to happen. So he's grieved by it. Absolutely. What else for this first question? Anything else for who are you, Lord? Yeah.
Yeah, in 44, it shows how God cares for basic needs. When Lazarus was on the tomb, and he said, take off the grave clothes, let it go, unwrap him, let
Yeah.
him freely.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
him see again.
Yeah, so who are you, Lord? Hey, Lord, you care about, raising us from the dead, the big stuff. But also, hey, take off the wrapping. Care for the little thing. He's the Lord of all of our needs, even the little things. It's actually a pretty, just imagine you're witnessing that. And literally, it's like a mummy just coming out. And Jesus unwrap him. He's alive. Yeah, that's wonderful. So he is the Lord who cares for even our little and small everyday needs. A couple that I kind of jotted down that weren't mentioned so far. One, I said, who are you, Lord? And this is, again, the mystery of the Trinity. But who are you, Lord? Jesus, you are the one who completely trusts the Father. Like, I love that. He begins the prayer before raising Lazarus from the dead. He addresses the Father. And he says, Father, I'm trying to find it real quick. He says, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me. He's like, I know you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people around me. So Jesus is like, I completely trust you, Father. He is just this incredible, faithful son to the Father. And it's just that incredible picture of, yeah, that's who Jesus is. He's incredibly faithful to the Father. Let me see if there was something else that I had that you guys did not cover. I think you guys got most of the things I also saw. Again, for me, maybe I would just kind of double click on, he's in total control the whole time. Like, to me, who are you, Lord? You are in absolute control from the beginning of the chapter, and he's doing everything with intentionality. That's, I think, for me. Who are you? He's incredibly intentional. He makes every move, every decision with incredible thoughts, which is amazing, right? And we want to be those type of people, right? But think about how hard that is, to be always intentional in every moment of every day. At a certain point, what do you just feel like? I'm exhausted. My brain's been on overdrive. I just need to veg out. I just need to and that's when we say things and we're like, well, dang it, I shouldn't have said that. You know what I mean? Like, that's when we get tired and we do things like when we're drained. But Jesus is just like the whole time so intentional, so thoughtful from the very beginning all the way through. Let's move on to the next question. Again, maybe not a question you've asked, but let's see and think about it. Who is the enemy? So again, you can think in broad categories: sin, death, the devil, or like sin, the world, death, devil. Who's the enemy in this? Like, what do you see accentuated in this? Okay, the obvious one, death. Like, it's very obvious, death is there. And where do you see, Ardell, where's one place you see death kind of wreaking havoc?
Well, when she says, if you'd been here, you could have prevented it. She wanted her brother back.
Okay, so I can double. So you're kind of mentioning Martha and Mary. They're like, if you were here, he would have been alive. So we're seeing the effects of death in this, which I would add this. We see grief.
Well, and for these two women,
Yeah.
chances are he was their support.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, this is all we're going to survive. We don't have.
Yep. That's a good thought, Ardell. So again, the enemy's death. Death has come to Lazarus, and you see the effects of that. Mary and Martha, you mentioned, there's the grief they feel, but also in that society, we're not aware of Mary and Martha being married. There's no mention of it. So by that account, more than likely, at least it's safe to kind of wonder, Lazarus was their support. And that society, the women of that society needed kind of that male to kind of pay the bills, basically, and they take care of all that stuff. That was their society. So for them, they're like, we're grieving our brother dying, but also they're potentially thinking, how are we going to live? Who's going to take care of us? So now, again, the enemy is still death, but you see how it manifests itself in these different spheres. Great. What else? Where else do you see any of the enemies at work?
Devil.
Okay, the devil.
The doubt in them not believing, like, it's been 4 days, it could be a bad smell instead of just I don't know, that devil on your shoulder telling you, like,
Yeah.
this man's crazy, he's gonna smell, like,
Yeah.
don't put it, or, you know, the doubt of he healed the blind man, how come he didn't stop him from dying? that
Yep.
kind of in your ear, those devils.
Yep. So there's the doubt you kind of mentioned, one aspect of Satan at work, even though Satan is not noticed, is Satan named in this at all? No. But I think you're making a really good connection that the doubt and unbelief stems from lies. And who is the father of all lies? Satan. Jesus and John makes that clear. So like when you think about the lies or unbelief, they flow from lies that Satan tells. And so even though he's not named, you kind of be like, man, you can see how that doubt is brought in, and the like, well, if Jesus, if he's so powerful and he healed those other people, why couldn't he do this? And that's like Satan's go-to move. If God did that, why, just like casting the question and causing to doubt. That's a good insight. Yeah, Phil.
I think taking that one farther, the two women confessed he was gonna raise the dead. He confessed to me and faith, and then didn't give up on him. He put out there. That's why my Martha was praying in the smell. Satan never gives up.
Yeah.
He was in it.
Yeah, so even though you're kind of mentioning they both have the responsibility, I know he's going to be raised. Now notice they say raised at the last day. So there was the Jewish belief in there will be a resurrection of all flesh. So there was that there, but notice, like you said, they still needed to be like, no, that's going to happen right now. Like Jesus said, I'm about to do this. And he literally tells them that, right? Like that was the thing. What does Jesus say to them? Your brother will rise again. And they're like, well, yeah, I know then, but not now. Good. Yeah, Dan.
I wonder if the scripture writer left out some words to make it all shorter, but everything that Martha starts on, you'd expect Martha.
Yeah. Martha. Yeah. Listen, so from the gospel, I think Luke is where it comes from, where you get that story of Mary and Martha, and Martha's working, Mary is sitting at the feet of Jesus, and Jesus says, Martha, Martha. I can't not hear it like that. I can't not hear it. I try, but I can't. Brady Bunch, just, Marsha. Anyways, for me, one other thing I see, who is the enemy at work? You see the chief priests and Pharisees, you see the religious leaders being, in the story, characters who are very much like they are enemies of Jesus. They're putting, trying to stop Jesus. And again, you can see that Satan is at work in them to kind of convince them, no, this isn't the Messiah, giving them that lie. But also you can see their sinful hearts at work. Because why don't they want Jesus? Like, what's their main concern? Yeah, their power. They don't want to lose power. And they're like, wow, if this guy can raise a guy from the dead, everybody's going to start following him. And we can't let that happen. Because that means they're not going to look to us.
Well, and they could grow.
There's also that you see the fear of Rome as well. So they don't want to lose power, and Rome has given them their little fiefdom. Rome is like, you guys can have your little area, but you know who runs the show. And they're like, man, Jesus is causing trouble. Rome is going to be upset, and you know what they're going to do? They're going to come in and they're going to boot us out. And so they're trying to make this maneuver. They're like, we got to stop Jesus. But you see underneath it is the sinful flesh at work, holding on to power and authority that they don't want to give up. So you see all these enemies at work, and I'm sure if you kind of sit down and think, I'm sure you could see it manifest in a number of different ways as well. So how's it defeated? So in this story, think about how are these enemies defeated? Or if not, what's lingering? How are the enemies defeated that we just mentioned?
Lazarus was raised from the dead.
Okay, so what? Lazarus, boom, you see death defeated, at least Lazarus' death, when he's raised from the dead. So Jesus, he speaks, and he brings Lazarus back from the dead. So you see, he has the word, again, that all-powerful, the resurrection and the life, and we see it. He's defeating the enemy of Lazarus' death right there. Good. What else? How do you see the other enemies defeated? Yeah.
Doubt is defeated, I often find, by proclamation of faith. Martha has a beautiful proclamation of faith. She gets such a bad name, but she's the one that runs out to meet Jesus. Mary stays at home, and then she says to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you have.
Yeah, so in the midst of, like we said, in the midst of her having some doubt, you see incredible faith in Martha. And you see her, and so the enemy of that doubt, you still see faith at work. And then if you could think, what does Jesus then do with that? How does he defeat the enemy of doubt? What does Jesus do? Yeah, that you may just not think it's a big deal, but I think it's profound. Jesus speaks promise into doubt. That's how Jesus defeats it, is he proclaims his promise. That's what Jesus ultimately is doing with Martha's doubt, is he's proclaiming his promise to her. And that's what Jesus is doing to defeat that enemy of doubt, proclaiming his promises. And that's really what God does. That's what we do. That's what we just carry on the work of Jesus, of preaching his promises, and that's what attacks our doubt. What else? Where else do you see enemies defeated or not defeated yet? So that's also a valid kind of thing to notice. Yeah, Chris?
Faith and obedience of God.
Okay. Can you elaborate more? Faith, obedience, can you elaborate more? Where do you see that in the story?
I just
Okay.
I thought it sounded good.
That is good. Yeah. Well, I think where you see it, I think where the enemy is defeated, I think ultimately we see Jesus and his incredible obedience through it, right? That's where it'll come back. We see Jesus being incredibly faithful to the Father and obedient to the Father, and ultimately that's what is defeating the enemy. It's less our obedience and it's his. And then he's doing that for us. And we see that in his prayer. We see that in his actions. Yeah. Yeah.
Defeated the devil in that, in verse 45, like I said, many of the Jews that came and saw believed.
So he performs this incredible sign, the incredible miracle, and through his actions, he is then defeating the doubt of some of the Jewish people as well. 45 is like, hey, there were people who came to believe in him. That's right. So there were that they saw the works of God, and that attacked their doubt, helped bring them to faith. What else? Where else do you see enemies being defeated or not defeated?
I think it's a very.
Go Mark and then you, yeah.
Yeah, maybe just the thought that his enemies, you're going to raise again yourself in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that they could fight Jesus with, because nobody's going to do this.
Yeah.
We're talking something impossible. What did he just do before he was crucified? He raised somebody from the dead. So he erased the doubt that you could actually come back. If he can do that to somebody else, there's a possibility he could maybe do it himself.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, him raising Lazarus is attacking that enemy of the doubt of when he would die. Yeah.
In I guess what questions remain, or like where they were defeated at the very end, it says that his coming is he not, I guess the Pharisees, if you're just looking at this, nothing else, where do I go next? Where does it defeat those Pharisees? It doesn't say that. It just kind of ends.
Observation of how
Yeah.
So like if you're looking just at this, okay, now what?
No, and that's a great insight. So you're like, you get to the end, and Jesus isn't yet in Jerusalem. Jewish leaders are plotting and planning, and people are like, well, I wonder if Jesus is going to show up. And it's left lingering. So there's the enemies of the Pharisees and the people who are plotting to kill him, and there isn't resolution. And that's meant to drive you to be like, yeah, what's going to happen? What's going to happen with the conflict? You can see it. The conflict's going to happen. What's going to happen? How is he going to defeat it? So we don't have that answer yet, but the impulse is then like, well, I got to find out how. Keep reading. And that's really, see, this is what I love about how Andy put the questions, is it drives you to the text. And when questions arise, it's meant to then say, man, I need to keep searching. It leaves the spirit of curiosity to be like, let me keep reading. Let me look at other places. I may not find the answer for a while. I may have to go find someone and help me. But notice the curiosity is the thing that's driving it. And it's helping you dive deeper, helping it resonate more. That's great. That's good insight. One thing I'll add before we move on and then get to some of the reflecting ones. For me, how is the enemy defeated? I think, again, the enemy of grief that the sisters are feeling, I think you see Jesus, he doesn't totally defeat it in this action, but you can see how it's like, man, how helpful is it? Is when he weeps along with them. For me, I'm like, man, that's not him defeating it, but it's showing them I'm not alone, right? They're like, okay, I'm not alone in this. I have Jesus with me. Again, that's not totally defeating it yet, but I think that's like, how amazing is that when you just know, like, man, I'm not going alone through whatever it is I'm going through. I've got a friend. And Jesus is showing that this is what he is for them, what he is for us. All right, cool. Keep track of time. All right. What have I experienced that connects to this? So again, now we're less on, all right, let's kind of like parse the text. Now we're kind of doing some like interior work and reflecting on our own life experiences. So anyone have a life experience or something that you're like, man, I have a connection with this? And again, it could be something like, yeah, like it mentioned like this random thing, and like that all of a sudden triggered this memory in my brain. It's like that's a valid thing. So don't feel like it's got to be like, oh, man, I got to have this like profound story. It's like, no, it's like, what are the connections you're making to your own life? Anybody want to share? Or no? Yeah.
Husband's son, yeah, and he said, I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so in your own life of just passing of your husband, that's like, who's going to take care of me? And you feel Mary and Martha. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. What else? What connections do you have? He does have a plan. Yeah. What else? What connections do you have to anything that we've read? Where's your brain synapses firing, whatever? Or
something I observed for people who are right at death's door and just don't want to let go because they lack faith, don't have a foundation that says you are better than beyond.
Yeah.
And just culturally, things that we do to keep people alive when it might just be more compassionate to let them go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's life on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, so for you, you're kind of hearing this, and you think about how hard it is when you get to kind of end of life care, especially when you're caring for family members, loved ones, and just how hard that is. For Christians, it's just having that recognition, like, okay, this is not the only life. Which, give a plug, next Sunday morning, Dr. Ben Stoltz will be leading 9:20 this time up in the choir room. end-of-life care. And so encourage you, if you haven't listened to him talk on that, encourage you to do that. But yeah, thanks, Kurt. Yeah, Chris?
That happened with my dad and myself. Because when he was at the end of his life, it's like he lost all his faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt bad, and there was nothing I could do to make him change his mind. But I thought, how sad to die, not knowing God's there. And he's been there all the time. Happens to everybody. So hard, I think.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Chris. What other connections? Yeah, Paul.
I think it too that when somebody does pass and they have the faith, they want to go and they know there's eternal life and and that's the way it was with Gloria. It gave me a peace of mind knowing that she's with Jesus and someday we'll see it again.
Yeah.
And another thing that gives me the peace of mind is not that you're never alone. You are never.
Yeah.
And it's with Mary and Martha, they would just realize that too, that you're never alone. You always have Jesus.
Yeah, we're never alone, and for our loved ones who know Jesus, there's that reality that, man, there's peace that even comes in the midst of that, the grips of death. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Carol?
I was going along in life, and everything was all fine, and I got a diagnosis, which was, I was in pain, and when I woke up, I'm still here, unless I'm gone.
Yeah.
You know, so, that's kind of important.
Yeah, you kind of,
Because I didn't expect to wake up, but I expected to wake up.
yeah, you know, you face a diagnosis, and it's like, hey, like what, you know, what's left for me here on this earth to do? But then it's like, man, God, you got something for me. And some days we get clarity, and some days it's like, man, still going forward.
About what was left, or it didn't cross my mind, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then when I woke up, it was like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not done.
Yeah. God's not done yet. Not done with us yet. Absolutely. Yeah.
What that is bringing to me is Jesus Christ making the impossible possible. Like my case, forget about it. Many hospitals you cannot see. So, problem that cannot be solved by any possibilities. That's what I think.
No problem is, how you put unfixable, unsolvable to him. Yep. He makes the impossible possible. Amen. Yeah. For me, whenever I hear this, I can't hear this, and it comes up often. At funerals, this is very, very common gospel reading at funerals. Specifically, Jesus talking to Martha and having that conversation. For me, sorry. Ooh, just gotta take a breath in. When Jesus says the line, "Your brother will rise again." Some of you know this, but Katie, my wife, her brother, he passed away, over a decade ago at this point, and we were in seminary at the time, and she had done an internship at a church in Illinois, and we still, she had a great relationship with her pastoral supervisor from there, and sorry. And I'm driving to St. Louis back to Katie's hometown. Pastors, we usually try to be like, no, we need to swallow, because then you can then say what you're going to say. We're driving to Katie's hometown, and then he called her on the drive, And it just, she knew he was going to call because she, sorry, man. When he's finished, I thought. She would see him, like, when he would do funerals, his, like, pastoral thing he would always do. Like, the very first thing he would say to a family member was what Jesus said. So she knew. She's like, man, I'm waiting for that phone call because I know that's what I'm going to hear. So for me, you know, all right.
I think you need a hug.
Appreciate that. All right. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, there we go. That's good. That's good. There we go. All right. Cool. All right. Sorry. I was playing this. I've told this story plenty of times. Sometimes, right, you tell a story and then all of a sudden you just get hit by a wave of, man, wasn't expecting it to come then, right? So, yep.
That happened to me.
Yep.
I knew before my sister was gonna die. My mother told me, I'm having problems, and I said, don't worry, she's gonna die before she's coming. I hit my mother in church, but I knew, and she did. She got hit by a train. But even that day, I knew that it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you know there's something powerful going on.
Yeah.
Or you wouldn't have those feelings.
Yeah. All right. Since I took up like 3 minutes trying to get one sentence out. We don't have time to think through this, but I want you to take these questions with you, these last 3. And I want you to, if you're a person who writes it down, if you have notes or jot in your phone, but I want you to take some time and think about this. What am I feeling? So again, as you think about the text, what am I feeling as you read it, as you meditate on it? What feelings do you have? There's not a bad emotion, by the way. Notice Martha, it doesn't explicitly say it, but I think there's a tone of frustration with the sisters with Jesus, and that's okay. Like, if there's like a sense of like, man, like, Jesus, you did this for Lazarus. Like, they got this great, joyous moment, like, but I feel like I never get those joyous moments. Like, yeah, and you could be like Martha, like, I know your ultimate promise, but I'd love to get a little bit right now. And that's okay to feel that. So what feelings, what questions still remain? Again, that kind of drives to further curiosity, to further either conversations with other people or digging into the scriptures. And then ultimately, who do I know that needs to hear this? There's no way you can convey everything, but like, man, like, who you are, Lord, man, Lord, this is who you reveal yourself. Who do I know that in this time in their life, they need to hear this right now? Be thinking of those people and then say, I'm going to share that with them in one way, shape, or form. All right? Thank you guys. Thank you guys for indulging me and, me being a blubbering mess for all of the internet to see for all time. So, there we go.